Welcome back to the Movie Wall Marathon. I'm
Hello.
Andrew.
And I'm Mac.
Heck yeah! And we are on the
Woo!
second episode of our Obscure Fantasy Marathon. We are
Yep.
on The Last Unicorn, directed by
Mm-hmm.
Jules Bass, Arthur Rankin Jr., came out August 27th, 1982. I would not
Mm-hmm.
have guessed that. We'll get into why later.
Okay.
Starring Mia Farrow, Jeff Bridges, Christopher
Mm-hmm.
Lee as King Haggard, Angela
Mm-hmm.
Lansbury, Alan Arkin, Robert Klein as the Butterfly, and a bunch of other people that no one's gonna recognize. So we'll stop it
I
there.
mean, I think it's Renee. He's Odo from Deep Space
Renee.
Nine. But
Oh, I'm so
yeah.
sorry. Yeah,
No, it's
that
all good. I just knew that guy.
that's yep. I believe it. Oh yeah, I see Renee. Yep. Okay. So, yeah, The Last Unicorn. Why did we watch this?
What do you mean, why do we watch
Why did we
this?
watch this?
Okay, so it's based off of a book, because of
Okay,
course it
I
is.
got that vibe.
And it's the author Beagle, Peter S. Beagle, he wrote it in 1968. So it's actually like a really early iteration
Okay.
of a fantasy story. And in my mind, this is not really a fantasy story so much as it is a fairy tale
Hmm.
that is in conversation with fairy tales and growing. It has a lot of stuff about like the loss of innocence or things
Hmm.
changing in a way you can't sort of like control. It has a lot to do with uh, the nature of a person or the nature of being. All that's pretty cool. When I was a kid watching it, I found it just like enthralling. And I think some of it
Oh,
was the animation. Like the backgrounds are gorgeous, like the
gorgeous.
woods and all that stuff. I mean, it kind of looks like the backgrounds from Sleeping Beauty, just like
I thought the same
amplified
thing.
in the
Yeah.
fantasy.
Hmm.
Yeah, especially the unicorn's forest. I just want to live. I
Hmm.
just want to live
Hmm.
there. Super cool. That said, the animation isn't always great, especially in terms of like when the characters are speaking. It doesn't always look like they're saying the words
I
that they're
yeah, I've
saying.
got some things to say. So
um, I also really liked the unique choices. The story does not conform to the norm of
uh,
a fantasy story,
yeah.
which is we go fight the evil and we vanquish it somehow. This was a quest that took a unique shape, and I really like the way that it ends. But I feel like to talk about the end now would jump
Fair
a
enough.
bit, so
Yeah.
that's what I'll say for now.
So I didn't want to go in with like a negative perspective, just because of the Hobbit,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like I didn't. So I didn't want to like tear this apart. It's not necessary. I tried to watch it like a kid, um,
Okay. I mean, you kind of have to for all of these.
which is fine. That's fine. Um, and I did find myself absolutely like losing myself in some of the magic for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the fair sequence. I loved all of the different
Mm-hmm.
monsters, even though they're not real. Like,
Tortilla is a cool character.
yeah, I
Yeah.
like that a lot. I like the character of the unicorn. Even as a kid, though, I would have been annoyed how different the art styles are for basically every character. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we see horses, we see deer, and they look very, at least to an extent, like anatomically correct and like realistic. And then the unicorn is like this really smooth My Little Pony style almost. Like it looks like
Mm-hmm.
it's out of a different universe, which I'm sure some
I think that's
people. Oh,
intentional.
shut up! I was gonna say I'm sure some people who are a little fantasy loving snobbish are gonna be like, "Well, that's intentional. It's to show the separation." I don't like it. It's weird. I think. I
I guess
think.
you're allowed to not like it, but I really like the world because that's kind of the whole story, you know? Like the only place she looks like she's at home is in her forest. And
Well, I
even
was gonna
there she stands
say,
out because it's her
yeah, because
forest.
even there she looks. I don't know. I
Mhm.
just I wanted her to look more like an animal. I think it just would have made it a little more approachable because all the animals look approachable. They look believable. So
But she's
yeah,
not supposed to be.
stop, just hush. She's to a
She's not
child.
supposed to. It's a big part of the story. She's
Whatever,
like, she's a foreign force of nature. She's immortal.
whatever.
It's,
Okay,
although I will say, it does feel like if they're going to do that for one immortal creature, they should do it for all of them. I think the Red
yeah,
Bull kind of counts. The Harpy
uh-huh,
feels like she's too much of the world if she's
little.
going to be on the same
But it's
level
also
as the unicorn, which is
they
what
don't.
they imply.
Yeah, they all look like. I understand. I don't know everything about the magic world. All the other monsters, even if they're illusions, look like they exist in the same world. The unicorn doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
and I just would have
Mm-hmm.
appreciated some cohesion. That's just me. And then yeah,
That's fair.
you've got the wizard, the magician man, whose name is kind of hard to pronounce.
Kendrick.
Sure, and the like you you've got
Molly.
yeah, there's like humans and then there's like troll
Mm-hmm.
people who are just humans, but they're like troll people. Um so that's just a little strange. The backgrounds are absolutely gorgeous. And the character designs for the most part are fine, but just
Mm-hmm.
everything clashes. And then for
Mm-hmm.
reasons I imagine are none of the artist's fault, the animation quality is not fantastic.
It's not great.
Not necessarily a
The audio is
complaint.
kind of bad too,
It's
but I
a
will say at this point, the audio is like my people who like to listen to vinyl.
sure,
It's
sure.
nostalgic at this point,
I
you
can
know.
understand that. And I can appreciate that. And I tried not to let that, stop me. I at worst though, I would say this is like almost a first draft of a school project where like the way the characters move, the way they talk, the way things don't always sync up. It's like this is
The
an
animation, yeah.
incomplete project almost. Like that's the worst thing I could say about it because I think there's a lot of charm. There's a lot of fun. There's some
Hmm.
cool magic. There's some cool animation things. The worst animation thing that I saw, and this is just me, and I know it doesn't matter, especially to a child. At one point where they're like someone is out on a balcony,
Hmm.
they don't put the balcony layer in front of the person. They're cutting off the person's lower half, and that lower half
Mm.
is still bleeding over. And I'm just like, all you had to do was cut the balcony out of whatever painting you did, line it up, and put it in front of the layer that has your character. Like, that's a thing you can do. Like there's
Hmm.
just a few little things here and there where I'm like, I feel like this was somebody's like first ever big break, which is great for
Mm.
them. Like they're doing it. This is awesome. But this is also 82. And that was my first note
Yeah,
before
it's
I started falling
go
asleep.
for it.
When I was taking notes, I was like, I cannot date this movie just from paying attention. Because, as you said, the backgrounds made me think of Sleeping Beauty. The character
Hmm.
designs kind of reminded me ish of The Hobbit here or there. So it's like this
Yeah.
is making me think this is from the 60s or late 50s, early 60s, but the music, which is
Hmm.
throughout the whole movie, is like this is straight up 80s, maybe early 90s. So like I do not know when this takes place. So 82. The fact that this is 82, technically speaking, that's disappointing a little bit.
Yeah.
This is decades
The
after Snow White, decades after Sleeping Beauty. Oof, my guy. A little bit of oof.
I will say the Rankin Bass team in general and Topcraft, the animation studio, they I think are always more ambitious than
Mm.
detail oriented. They
Ah.
go for the big ideas, the beauty of the small like tie togethers, you know? They're like, let's tell this giant epic fantasy story. Let's do it in animation. Let's be honest, at the time there's no good way to beautiful fantasy that's truly like with fantastic creatures um, in live action, and they never really nailed the details. I would say. I think they do a great job in terms of bringing to life the fantastic elements of the stories, but then in the smaller, more crucial like storytelling bits, not necessarily that they drop plot points, just that they tend to rush animation or music in general. They tend to go for the smaller budget ideas than the bigger budget ideas, I think is kind of a continuing thread
little bit.
Group.
I do think as well. There's a small bit, and I'm saying this as someone who is not an animator. I do feel like there's some instances of just lack of technical proficiency. There are some things that they have happen where, like, yeah, it would be really hard to animate a fight sequence between a magician and a guy with a sword. That's totally fair. But I think there are some tricks of the trade that could make it look a little more dramatic than what we ended up getting. Just because of the way, if you want to say cinematography of an animated film, where the motion of the characters is a little confusing, the perspective makes it unclear as to what's happening, and there's not a lot of weight to what's going on. You know, like you just have the guy kind of rolling back and forth. Like, you know, if you wanted to get a little cheeky with it, say the magician has the ability to turn invisible and he's popping in and out of frame. That's an easy thing you can change. You can, you know, just to make the fight take place over more ground, and I don't know, little tiny things like that where it's just, I think there's, again, where it
they are
feels
bound
like
a little bit story-wise because the magician has like a very specific layout of his abilities, the themes of the story. But I will agree that there is creativity that can be applied here to solve the problems they were having, and it kind of looks like they just didn't bother. Now, did they just not bother because it's a small team, small budget, and they're doing the best they had? That's a possibility. I actually don't know. I looked into it. Or is it just they wanted to churn out a movie relatively quickly? They liked the pretty parts and the smaller parts that are less important to them, they put less effort. That's also a possibility, right? Maybe they had the time and money to do to actually do it. I don't know what the real situation was. But as it stands, the animation could definitely be better, especially for the time that this was created, and they could do a little more than that.
I honestly think if I were to give it as much credit as I can, that's the biggest downside. If the animation quality was, you know, let's say the whole thing was on Sleeping Beauty level, I think this would be more of a timeless classic, to be honest.
Agreed.
I think it's just a little too clunky in places.
I might, if I had to pick between the two, I might pick audio quality as a little bit of a higher thing.
That could be
because I think
too.
if it sounded a little nicer, people would like it regardless of the animation. Like,
I think you gotta hit those, you gotta hit both those notches a little bit, because if it sounds beautiful but the sound doesn't sync up with the world you're looking at, there's still gonna feel like a disconnect.
It'll feel, yeah,
so it's just a tad on both, I think, because like I was thinking like this felt like the animation equivalent of those Santa Claus is Coming to Town claymations, where like they don't move in a believable way, you know, but it's because of the times. But it's not because of the times. The times for this, like where we are in animation at this time, we are so far beyond that. So it felt a little weird that was making me.
But we are coming from that school. This is the group that did that animation. So, directed that movie, not really that animation. It's a different animation studio, I believe. Top Craft didn't do.
Well, I see the similar thread, shall we say, the familiar touch. I saw it. That being said, the only other thing that I was thinking that I like really wanted to know, because I was trying to be patient, and we did in the end figure out why the king wanted the unicorns, because that was not brought up, I don't think, in a very timely fashion.
No.
The only thing I still wanted to know was, what is the Red Bull? And why are the unicorns bound in the ocean and not dying? I kind of wished, again, I don't know what the book is like, but if it was some sort of massive lake moat thing that only had a beach entrance, and that's where the bull was, so like the unicorns were trapped there. I don't know why they couldn't just walk through the ocean to go somewhere else. It seemed a little unclear. Did I miss something?
It's a fair point. I hadn't really thought about it like that before. I just kind of accepted it for what it was as a kid.
I understand it's a kid's movie, and I probably shouldn't be shitting on it.
It's meant to be the unicorns being trapped in the ocean. Beautiful metaphor. What's happening and the forces that are playing out than it is like. Although it is. It has to be the ocean because they're supposed to be in the waves.
Mm,
So it's not like they would choose a lake or anything because then you don't have the
ah,
cresting waves to trap them
that's
in.
true.
Yeah. But you make a good point about unicorns not sure to go and escape.
But yes, I will concede the wave point. That's fair. In that regard, then I just would have liked a little more info on like where the Red Bull came from, why the king has control over it, and what its motivations are.
I am okay with King Haggard being the way he is because if we're going to jump straight to it, he is forces of evil. Like what
Mm.
his role in the story is to be the greed that takes from others and ultimately ruins the world. He cannot
Ah.
find joy or happiness. The only time he's come close to it was when he was near Unicorn. And instead of learning, hey, maybe I should pursue simple joy, instead of that, he's like, let me steal all the unicorns and have all of them so that
Mm.
I can have what they have. And it's meant to be a conversation about how kind of useless that idea is, but also how damaging it is because by taking all the unicorns, their power and their majesty, pretty much like their magic is to make things better, and he has
Mm-hmm.
taken it all for himself, and it's not even working that way. His kingdom's a mess. He's unhappy all. Sure, he gets a brief jolt of happiness when he looks at them. He's like, "Wow, unicorns, so beautiful. I have them all. I feel great." But then he goes back inside and his gestures. So, like, it's he is more than being. He's not like a science fiction villain. He's not like a historical villain, so to speak. He's just a stand-in for the people with power to take everything
That's
and
that's good.
deprive others
Hmm.
of what they should be able to have.
That's
And it doesn't make him
interesting.
happy.
Yeah.
It ruins him.
Hmm. Okay. I did not give that enough credit, so that's cool. I mean, I understood like to an extent what that was, but I didn't see the
Mhm.
biggest picture there. So that is cool.
It took me a few watches to get this movie. Like the first time I watched it, I was like, I don't feel like I understood what happened there, but I found it interesting. And then I watched it again because I found it interesting. And by my third time rewatching it, I was starting to really understand what was on with all of it. It's easier when you're reading the book because the book makes it clear that they're
Ah.
in conversation with like narrative themes and stuff like that. They're like, we're going to talk about this stuff. But I think what really broke through it for me was I think it's Schmedrick's line about how happy endings don't exist because there are no endings. And
I
that's when I
did like that.
realized this is a fantasy story, this is a fairy tale that is kind of taking the fairy tale structure and talking about how fairy tales apply in real life. The unicorn is important to the world because of the hope and innocence that it brings, but it's ruined by the world when she goes out into it because the reality of the situation is tough and awful. But it's by going through that experience that she's also able to make things better. So like there's a whole bunch of like background, I don't want to say morals, but background themes and conversations about growing up and identity and even like the state of the world and stuff
Hmm.
like that.
That's cool.
Um, yeah.
I will
You don't
say,
really get into all of that until you get to the carnival, though. Like the opening is a
yeah,
little
it's
simplistic.
yeah, it's a little twinkly. Not necessarily that's a bad thing. I will say
Hmm.
I did not like the butterfly. He's weird.
The butterfly
He's
is an
pisses
annoying
me off.
interpretation of the butterfly.
Yeah,
He's
and it's
supposed to
also
just repeat snippets of song, but he's doing it in such a modern, anachronistic way that it's not clear what
yeah,
time is supposed to be
right. And all the
with the
animals
unicorn.
are, they look like I said mostly believable.
And then he's a
The
little
carnival and stuff.
airplane pilot.
Yeah, he's wearing clothes and he's got glasses and his hat keeps changing. He looks like a Disney character in a movie that looks like it's trying to not necessarily be a Disney movie. And
Hmm.
so that was a little strange. I think he could have been a very whimsical, magical character, and in the end, I just don't think he is. I straight
Yeah,
up, I don't
all
like
they
the
had to
butterfly.
do was make him like rather than singing snippets of tune, advertisements or whatever, have him sing a few like old songs. Not that everybody would have to know them, but if he just keeps repeating different song lyrics, or maybe you make up a few like old sounding songs, then it's not that hard for the audience to pick up on the fact that, oh, he doesn't really have a ton of thoughts of his own. It's just a repeating thing for him. Like he just sort of repeats what he says. It's a parrot. It's not a lot going on up here. He's just saying something.
Right. It's also weird because he seems like he's not a character who has consciousness. He's just repeating, and then all of a sudden he's like, all right, listen. There's only a few unicorns left. Actually, you're the last one. It's because of this guy. He's at this place doing this thing, and you gotta find out what. You didn't hear it from me. All right, bye. It's like, okay, whoa, what? Where the hell did that come from? Who are you on the
he's
run
supposed
from?
to. If I remember it from the book, he's supposed to just be repeating the stories that he's heard from those regions about the Red Bull chasing unicorn, which is triggered by her questions. So it's almost like he's responding to her, but he's still just repeating snippets of what he's heard. He's not saying his own sentences. And it's annoying to me that they're like, first he's going to sing a bunch of contemporary songs, and then he's going to turn into a spy, gives her a mission,
Right.
and then he's going to fly away and be dumb again, and she's going to be, oh, butterflies don't out. It's like, that's not great in terms of opening.
Not the best. And then I like that they explained it, because at first I was like, where the hell did her horn go? Did I miss a part? When the guy's like, oh, it's a horse. So that there's definitely, I would say, watching this as an adult and getting frustrated that there were like unanswered questions that were then followed up with answers. I'm like, okay, I need to take a step back. I need to be more patient and understand this is a movie. You know, you don't have to answer it right away. There's follow up, there's build up, there's so on and so forth. But then I remembered, like, if this is for a movie for 5, 6, 7-year-olds, they're putting a lot of faith in the audience to wait and understand some of the things they're laying out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, my goodness.
I would argue the book is actually an example of a World War II fairy tale. It's World War II fantasy fiction.
Okay.
It's in the same vein as Lord of the Rings, not nearly as epic as Lord of the Rings, because the book itself is like 200 pages. But it's a story about the loss of magic, an old world becoming new. It's about a loss of innocence. It's about a person who leaves a perfect home, goes to a terrible world, becomes a terrible thing, and manages to make it back, but is permanently changed by it, right? Like, that mirrors the story of a soldier going to war. And sure, they win the war, things come back, but there is a change. Nothing is quite what it was, you know? You have to go out to fight evil. That fight changes you. When you come back, you might have won, but so I think this is another example of that sort of story. And I would argue the book was never really meant for kids, like definitely not 5-year-olds. We're probably talking like 10, maybe a little older, through 15, 16 is kind of what we're talking. And I think if you're a person who enjoys a good fantasy story, it could apply to really any age, get it. But I don't think this was ever kids, and the animation might make you feel like it is, but I mean, they talk about very real things.
True.
Especially in the book. And again, unicorns, you can't really have a true conversation about unicorns without talking about like innocence and arguably even like virginity. So there's a lot of unicorns in the story that is just, it's not really for the tots. It's for the people who are growing up and discovering what the world.
I'm sorry, discovers what the world does what?
Discovers what the world is like and having to deal with what the world is actually like. You know, it's not just what you were told it was. It's not a fairy tale for a 6-year-old. It's a fairy tale for a person who is struggling with what the fairy tales told them.
I wonder if it would be better than if she was a human for more of it. Like, it's like an issue.
Or if more happened while she was a human.
Yeah.
I think the timing of it works because she has to be a unicorn for at least some of her experiences in the world. And I think her encounter with Molly is really important. Molly kind of puts it on her. She's like, why are you here now? It's too late. Ruined me. And then for her after that to go through a sort of similar situation where she becomes human. And I mean, the line where she's like, I can feel this body dying me.
Yeah, that was
The
crazy.
trauma of being an immortal being trapped in a mortal body is only really accurately described in that. And then you kind of see in some of the symptoms where, like, you know, she doesn't have reflective eyes. There's something else behind them. She has memory issues because she can't really be a unicorn and a, you know, she has to choose one or the other. She can't love a person, and she can, and then kind of she has to choose between that and her quest and her original self. Like, there's a whole bunch in terms of like trying to decide who you want to be and whether or not returning to who you were. And I think all of that is what happens when you grow up. You're reckoning with your identity, who you thought you could be versus what you're becoming. And you have to kind of find a way to either push that or. Now, then this becomes a full-on fantasy story where she does actually have some unicorns to save. She does. If she's the unicorn, happy ending, arguably. But I think this is the conversation we're meant to be having with a unicorn who turns into a human is, what does it mean to go through changes, and how do you reckon with that as a person?
Yeah. Okay. There's more to it than I was giving it credit, and there's some interesting stuff there. I will say, best compliment I can give is I'd rather watch this again over The Hobbit. Even though I know more about The Hobbit, I'd rather watch this again. I think
This is a better movie than The Hobbit. The Hobbit is like a very abbreviated version of the story, and so it feels very. This is honestly also an abbreviated version points, which makes it feel like it develops more naturally.
True. Anyway,
okay,
that's a lot of good stuff, and that's a lot more for me to consider. I felt no desire to watch The Hobbit again. I feel like this one would be worth giving it another shot, if only to see a lot of the artwork in it again. I think it's pretty. That being said, and I want to come back to Unicorn as Human, because that's the whole third act, and I think there's something to talk about there. Before we get there,
we should probably talk about the first half of the movie.
Yeah. I mean, the opening is interesting. Definitely a lot of exposition. Whatever. Kid's story. Not a kid's story. Kid's story. Butterfly. Don't love it. Take or leave it. Whatever. She's on her mission. We learn about the magic. And how men can't see unicorns, and we get reintroduced to our little magician man and our weird witch lady and the cool circus thing, which kind of sucks but also makes sense. Interesting art designs for all the creatures. I don't love the design of the harpy. There's some things there I would have omitted. I don't think some of those things are entirely necessary.
It is actually a part of the iconic harpy image
Don't care.
to have.
Don't care.
I agree that it could be changed, especially with the way that it was drawn. Like, it kind of felt forced, almost.
Fully unnecessary. Also, 3?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessary.
It was weird.
Yeah. Also, the tree that he gets stuck to. That's somehow bad in 2 ways.
The all caps there. I forgot about the tree.
Yeah, my first thought was, oh, this is gonna be one of those things that she watches and forgot it was in the movie, because somehow this tree, and if listener you're here and you don't understand, that's fine. Just bear with me for a second. Somehow this tree simultaneously looks like a tall woman with massive breasts, and simultaneously looks like a huge dick and balls. And our wizard is either motorboating this tree or is fully engulfed by the scrotum of the tree. You laugh and cringe and wince, and I understand, but that's what these guys animate.
It's so bad. They spent so many hours on that.
And I honestly don't know which one it's meant to look more like. Because it's clearly
supposed to be a woman, but they knew what they were doing. They had to know what they were doing.
It's a female tree, and she's got like the face and the breasts and all that, but at the same time, the way it's positioned, that's straight up a dick. That's so bizarre. And if I could submit anything to the council as to what was unnecessary to animate, I would argue this. Does this
Yeah.
really
Hmm.
benefit the story at all? No. Oh, well, we need the
Well,
unicorn to
we
save
can
the wizard. You
you
could
know,
do that without the tree.
well, okay, that or like I would argue you can even do this bit in a not disgusting way,
Uh
where like
huh.
he can use his spell and it makes the tree fall in love with him, but rather than I don't know a naked woman or a dick, it just is a tree that like its branches wrap around
Yeah.
him, trapping him further. You
Be
know, like
yeah.
there's a
Right.
non-disgusting way to do this.
Be a handsy willow tree. You know, like give
Yeah.
yeah something like that. There's so many ways, man, and it almost lost me
Hmm.
there. Honestly, I was like, if we're gonna get more of this,
It's bad. Yeah,
I was not expecting
it's
that.
really bad.
Didn't like that.
It,
I
I
thought the
don't feel like it
harpy was
fits the
bad, and
general
I forgot about the harpy
themes
after that.
overall. Like, again, we are talking about growing up, like womanhood and unicorns. So, like, I'm not totally opposed to there being some maybe sexual elements. This was not the way to do.
No, this is not.
Nothing to
No,
do with the story. It's
you
just a mistake magic,
right.
and the guy basically gets molested,
Uh huh.
and it's weird all
Right.
around.
You want to
It
talk
doesn't
about
fit what's
losing
happening.
innocence, you know? And see, it's
Yeah,
I can't help but make the connection as well. Oh, it's supposed to be a woman. It's not a dick. It's a tree. It's made of wood. It's right there. Like this was bad. That was
I can't remember if this is
bad.
in the book or not. I didn't think
If
I don't
it's
think it was, but I
not,
didn't remember this being in the movie
if it's
either. So
not,
I don't know.
that's egregious. Oof,
I
oof,
don't know, dude.
oof,
I feel like I
oof,
have the book over here somewhere, but I can't. It's
oof.
awful. It's genuinely a terrible choice. I don't know why it's there.
It was bad. Don't like it.
But let's back up a couple of steps and go back to the circus
Yes.
because this is this is the first time you kind of get a clue as to what the story is doing in
Mm-hmm.
terms of like it being a fairy tale and conversation with fairy tales. Um, Mommy Fortuna and her creatures are illusions. Even the ones that are real, she has to bring something fake to it so that people believe in it and see it. And yet, like, the people, especially like the women who are looking at the unicorn fake,
They seem to
they're still
know.
incredibly
Yeah.
by it, right? So they're having this conversation around what is the importance of truth and reality and like, the manticore just being like a sad, tired old lion, that's not real at all. So people's fear to that is totally manufactured. But then when confronted with something that's hard to believe but true, they have to have someone convince them of it with an illusion. And then they're impacted by it, which is a very interesting and complicated thing to set up. Why not just have them see the unicorn? Well, they can't because they don't really believe in her too, blinded by the world and the reality.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, when they are shown an illusion of a thing that they wish was real but won't believe in, it does break them down. It does sort of work its way inside their head and impact. So I find that to be an interesting inclusion in the film and the story. Just again, we're talking the reality of the world and things because, like, the unicorn is reality in this story,
Mm-hmm.
but people don't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like saying that it's out there, you can find it.
Yeah.
But people are also in that they're also jaded by the false version,
Right.
which is interesting too.
I did have to. Cause, okay, so our little wizard guy, he's the same dude from the opening, right? Is
He's
that
the what?
our wizard guy? The guy in the blue hat. That's
Mm-hmm.
the same dude from the
Kendrick.
opening of the movie, right? Or is that someone else? I know there's an old guy and a young guy. Are those not the same characters? I
Those
could.
are not the same
Oh,
people.
see, I
No,
thought.
the hunters are unrelated to the
Oh,
story. They just
okay.
give us a little exposition.
I guess I wasn't paying enough attention. Because at first I thought it was supposed to be the same dude, and I thought like you were surprised by unicorns existing, but you're a wizard, are you not?
Mm.
Like, but, yeah, okay. Oh, I'll
He
ignore that.
recognizes her on sight and lies
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
Oh.
He knows. He's cool. I
Mhm.
also the animation style made me a little confused as to what ages everyone was.
Mhm.
I thought he was a lot younger, and then they were passing off the unicorn human as his niece, and I was like, oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, he's supposed to be, I think, 30s, if I had to
I
guess.
wouldn't have guessed that, honestly. I thought he was younger. But then,
He's a
yeah,
little ambiguous because he fits the role that they put a lot of teens into these days, which is
yeah,
like
mm-hmm,
bumbling with abilities that they don't fully control, you know. Um, and I don't think that's meant to be an indicator of his age. It's just to like that's the kind of sorcerer he is. That's the kind of magician he is. He doesn't have total control over his spells or his magic. Mommy Fortuna seems stronger,
mm-hmm,
like command of her powers. Like she may not be the most powerful person around. She can't really fight a harpy or a unicorn, but she can enchant a cage that will hold them, you know?
right.
So there's people have different magical abilities. And for whatever reason, Schmendrick's ability is to channel magic rather than to control magic, which is interesting, I think.
That's a good point. So yeah, let's we meet some forest people and we bring Robin Hood holograms in. That's all good and fine.
Another example of things that are not true having a greater impact than things that are true. It's a direct connection between Robin Hood, the ideal version of outlaws out in the woods, doing good, living it up. I mean, look how fancy. And then the reality of like rat soup, it's the same rat for three
Right.
days. Add a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more water to the stew. We have company. They're all starving and grumpy with each other. Another interesting sort of like thread in like reality versus illusion, but still going after the illusion version or being more heavily impacted.
That's a good point. Good point. I'm seeing the threads. I was not as
Mm-hmm.
appreciative. I'm learning. But then yeah, we kind of get to where we're going. Encounter the Red Bull, not product placement, and
Yeah.
we get all humified. Just fine, I guess. Um,
Oh, do you not like this choice?
I don't like where it goes. I think the concept was brilliant, and the magic doing that to
Mm-hmm.
prevent the Red Bull from getting her was great. Very well done, and it's interesting to have a magical creature that goes back and forth or is cursed with that and dealing with that. And like you mentioned before, the lines of dialogue of her saying she can feel the body dying, like fascinating. Love that. I do not like that it then it ends up equating to a love story because she's
Mm.
hot. It's I for one, it's super super cliche that he immediately falls in love with her. I don't know how long they're in the castle. They kind of gloss over that. But even if you want to say it's a couple of months, he loves her just because she's beautiful. Even if you want to say it's some sort of
Mm-hmm.
unicorn magic, I would argue no, it's not. She doesn't have any magic right now. She's a human. That's part of the issue. Um, she's losing it the longer it
She retains
goes.
she retains bits of it, right?
Okay,
Like she's still drawn with a different line than everybody
fine.
else.
Okay,
She's still but
fine.
there's nothing behind her
It's
eyes.
it's still dumb because he just loves her because she's pretty, and it's
That's true.
weird that he ends up continuing to love her after he learns what she
That she's
is.
not human.
So,
It's
and
yeah.
see, I like to think I am a understanding, low key, no judgment nerd, and I understand there's lots of worlds of nerdum, and in the fantasy realm, it's not that strange when you have a similar story with ogres and mermaids, other beasts, fairies, trolls, werewolves. One of the nerd worlds that I cannot abide are the bronies, and while I don't send any hate their way at all. I don't get it, and I think it's weird. And this basically being a version of that was like, ugh, this is weird. I don't like this. It's a horse, my guy. It's a magical
I
horse, and you've
mean,
got the hots for a magical horse.
it's a very similar story to like all stories. Like Beauty and the Beast maybe gets a pass because he is at least a human. It's a little weird still if you want to look at it in detail, but moving on. Um, there are stories like Swan Lake. There are stories like, and it's not like they're sexually attracted to the animal version of the woman. The only difference is here, her original form was a human. He's in love with the human that he meets. even though she's not really fully human. He's not in love with the horse. And then she happens to be a unicorn. I don't think that love just goes away. Maybe the way that it's phrased, where he's like, he's gonna love her, he still loves her, doesn't matter what she is. That's a little weird. But then again, we're dealing with fantasy. We're dealing with chivalric love as much as we're dealing with regular, romantic section. So the idea of him having one true love still kind of works in a story like this. So if he's wasted his one true love on Lady Almathea and she just happens a unicorn, then yeah, he still loves her. Maybe he can't have her, but he's gonna like continue to love her regardless.
I suppose. I do suppose. It's just a tad odd. It's all.
I suppose. I don't know that this version of love is gonna vanish the moment you find out that their original form is not the way you met them.
Yeah, but
like
this version of love as well, even if you want to argue it's not a sexual love, what else exactly is it though? Because you don't know that person. You are.
I mean,
you love this person
it's
because
definitely
they're pretty. That's it.
Yeah, there's an attraction between him and her. Like, hers is a little bit more than his. His is, you're gorgeous. I want to woo you and win you. But to be fair, he pursues it in a very like chivalrous way. He's going out and doing deeds in her name.
Killing innocent dragons.
She doesn't like it,
Yeah,
so he's not approaching it correctly, but their relationship is based off of acts of service or their ability to be something for the other person, what they need. It's not necessarily just about the bodies, we'll say.
Fair enough.
I think you're allowed to still be weirded out by it. Like, if you think too hard about any of the transformations, I was a little weirded out by the what's the Amazon Prime show that came out a while ago?
What is it?
Animal shapeshifters. Lady Jane, I think, is the name of the show. It's historical fiction, but really more historical fantasy, where it takes a historical figure and puts her in a world where there are shifters and like certain people have alternate animal forms, and she ends up falling in love. I found that weird. So I think it's totally a horse.
Oh, another horse.
Yeah. So like I found that weird. I think you're allowed to find that might be simplifying their relationship if you think that it will just instantly vanish when he finds out her true form.
I guess. I suppose. I think part of it again is just how the unicorn is drawn. Because it's got the big,
I guess,
like big anime eyes. It's a little weird.
Hey, she's supposed to be beautiful. We have to get that she's beautiful.
Okay, you could have a beautiful animal and not be beautiful in weird animation ways.
Okay, I suppose that's true. You can emphasize the alienness by making it different. I think you gotta have human eyes on characters that you expect people to empathize with, though.
I suppose. I think there's an attempt to make this unicorn beautiful, and I think there should have been more of an attempt to make the unicorn majestic, like a natural, supernatural presence of beauty, if you will. Instead of this, I would argue, almost strange attempt to make this horse look appealing to a human eye. That's a little bit weird.
I'm okay with the general fragility of the structure because I think that adds to the otherworldliness of it, and it's in really, but she also is meant to be a force to be reckoned with, and I don't feel like we get a fair. Like, it makes me think of The Last Battle, which is a book from Narnia. There's a unicorn who, I believe his name is Jewel, and he is a deadly creature. He is considered one of the most dangerous things to go against in combat, and it's because he skewers people with his horn. And I feel like we could have seen a little force of strength from the unicorn in this story overall.
I think that's a combination of a me issue and how unicorns are like accepted, because so the fragility of it I don't like, because I understand like I think of horses, and unicorns are basically the closest thing you compare them to is a horse. And so horses are a powerhouse. They are strong, they are imposing. Yes, there's some specific things regarding their legs where you have to be a little bit, careful, but still, like, the things they do and the things they offer are very powerful. Even if you want to compare it more to a deer, maybe, instead of a horse,
Hmm.
you then get into, well, you're now comparing it to an animal that also has horns on its head that it uses for defense and sometimes offense. And
Hmm.
so, any way you slice it, I think the unicorn has a rightful place, and sometimes does in other media, of being a majestic, life giving image of purity that is also a force to be reckoned with. And
Hmm.
I don't, across media, I don't love when it's just, look at the pretty lady and how magical she
Hmm.
is. She has smooth curving lines and sparkles, and she has white colors and light blues and gentle pinks, and the horn is really just there to glow when she brings people back to life. She won't use it to skewer a
Yeah.
motherfucker to a tree when she absolutely should
Let's
and
give
could.
this version of the unicorn a little bit more credit. She
Okay,
takes
fine.
on multiple
She
monsters.
does. She
It
does
may
fight
not
the
be
bull.
animated
She
well
fights
or
the bull.
choreographed well.
Also, the
And
bull in the
technically the
end.
harpy. She's gonna fight the harpy.
Okay, but we have to. It's true, she does. She's a good character. She's great. We have to talk about how the rest of the herd of unicorns are kind of feckless, because all it took was one unicorn standing up to the bull and that motherfucker bounced. There's a whole herd of them there. Strength in
Yeah.
numbers, my guys. Did anyone even try to
Again, I think that
unionize?
it's meant to be a reflection on how she couldn't have accomplished her quest without the change that she went through.
Oh.
She is like the creature that she is as a unicorn is inherently bull. I do not feel like we get enough justification for why that is. I want to know more about what the bull is supposed to represent.
Mm,
I want it to be more than just a straight up embodiment of evil. I want
right.
there to be, it's like other. Why does it heal to King Harrow then? Like, what's going on? And I honestly can't remember if it's been too long since I've read it. But whatever it is about the bull drives out even like the sense in the unicorn, because she earlier in the story when they're getting away from the harpy, she tells Smendrick never run from an immortal creature, and I'm pretty sure the
That
bull
was
has it,
weird, but okay.
and she immediately runs from it,
Mm-hmm.
like immediately, like she's not even thinking, she's so whatever the bull is, I think is antithetical to what the unicorns are, and it scares them so much that they kind of don't have self-control. The only reason she changes at the end is because she sees that Lear's basically dead. She sees that he's been killed, and she has regret, which none of the other unicorns have, which motivates her to do something about it. And when she pushes the bull into the ocean, that sort of like, I mean, at the very least scares out the other unicorns in the ocean. They are
Yeah.
no longer want to stay there. So I think that's I think that's why it took Lear dying in order to make a difference. The unicorns and the bull are so opposite or built in such a way that you really can't have a unicorn respond in force to whatever the bull is without the.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Mhm.
I see. I guess if I approach this movie where I love it so much and I can fill in plot holes, I guess the bull's like a spell,
Okay.
maybe. Because if it's a creature,
It doesn't really seem to have a body. Yeah.
yeah, if it's a creature, then why does the king control it? How does the king control it? Where did he get it? So on. But if it's a spell that either he or someone he hired created, I can get behind that.
But it still doesn't really satisfy what it fits in the analogy the story has created. Like
I
the Red
think
Bull is something that the author Peter Spiegel just kind of cooked up from what I understand. The unicorn has a pre-established symbolism and mythology to it. The
mhm.
Red Bull doesn't. So I
Well,
don't know enough about the to like
red.
give it a reason to be the opposite of the unicorns.
Well, so what I was thinking was, for one, red is associated with rage and such, and so it's
Sure.
anger and aggression, but it's also if we want to get a little gross again, the unicorn is often associated with women, purity, innocence. The
Mm-hmm.
bull is often associated with men and fertility,
Mm-hmm.
and the men's ability to remove said innocence of women with said fertility.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought
So
about that.
that's what I thought
Birds
it was
are
supposed to be.
Bulls are specifically
Yeah,
steers. Like they're
exactly. And so I don't know in this universe if there are male and female unicorns, but in the media I know of with unicorns, there's often a disconnect with males, and there even is in this universe as well. So that's what I thought it was supposed to be. Was the bull was
Mhm.
like a little bit of a blunt, all-encompassing kind of commentary on the dynamic between men and women. And granted, we have people will attach to that and get all weird, pissy, like they did with She-Hulk and such.
Well,
But like we
it's
also have good male
actually
characters and good female characters throughout
yeah.
the movie, as well as bad female characters and bad male characters. So there's like a bigger commentary on an overall social issue while not addressing it to every single person.
I mean, I think if it is supposed to be an embodiment of specifically greedy male ego, which is what King Harrow is. It's the force that they bring into the world, which is would be the opposite of the innocence and the simplicity. And we're going to go ahead and assign them the genders as well. Unicorns are female or representative of female, whereas the bull is representative of the male. Then we have at least two examples of male characters that work against that in the same way that, you know, there are male characters that support it. Smendrick is always protecting the unicorn, trying to help. He and Molly get along because of his attitude. And does he always agree with two? No. I love the fact that they don't always agree. Like the whole bit where he turns, kind of accidentally turns her into a human and doesn't want to change her back. That whole argument is an argument in the group. But then we also have Prince Lear, who turns out isn't even related to
Right.
Harrow,
It's just
but
a
was
dude.
raised under Harrow.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And he doesn't inherit any of Harrow's bad traits, which I think is this movie maybe being a little bit too heavy on the nature versus nurture situation. We are talking about a movie where changing the body of a unicorn drastically changed her identity as well. So we're talking a movie that does credit the nature of a physical being over the situation that being is in, being, you know. So like if Lear's adopted, then him not picking up any of Harrow's traits makes sense in this world, and him being a noble character who give his, you know, those he loves from being hurt. It's very interesting in the conversation of the bull being an evil male force, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So that's, I think that all works really well.
Cool. Look at me finding some visual metaphors.
Good for you. You did it, bud. Actually, I think
Yeah.
it's really great. I think it's really good.
Thank you, thank you. But yeah, in the end, it's cool. The unicorns are set free. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Get a cool sequence of them in the waves, and unicorns go back into the world, and Magician Man
Mm-hmm.
and what's her name, Molly, they seem to live happily ever
Molly.
after to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. Yeah.
I love the way that Leorn's story ends, or I guess the Lady Elmathea's story ends with Lear, because she, at a certain point, doesn't want to give up being human and being with him, but that's because she's been human too long, and like the people who can't see the unicorn anymore, she probably couldn't see. She doesn't even really remember what she's there for. So she has been sort of like graduated into that reality, we'll say. And I find it interesting the conversation that Harrow has with her about like love is slowing you down, my lady. Like that, what an interesting framework to put love and relationship in a fantasy fairy tale story. Like
Mm-hmm.
it is giving her peace of mind for the moment. She even says, I need you here so I can forget what with the memories. I don't understand them and they're painful. I need you to be close to me so I can forget my past.
Yeah.
And that's the role the relationship has. It's technically not a great one. He only really likes her because she's beautiful. He only really likes him because it makes her forget the difficulties that she had behind her. So I love that the love here isn't like the thing they're fighting for. They're fighting for the world. They're fighting for who she is. And the love, while it is an important part of the story and an important part of the development, like we won't have the end that we have without it. It's not the ultimate end of the story. It's not the good to be protected above all. I find a lot of stories unfairly prioritize the romance happening between the characters. I'm like, you have other things to be dealing with. Whether or not you're having an argument with a friend is not relevant right now. And in this story, they give that fair precedence. They're like, it does not matter really that you even want to stay together. You have to become who you are in order to survive. But it does that without, again, totally demonizing their relationship, because it is a piece to both of them when they are together. And it is the death and, following resurrection of Lear that kind of changes the unicorn permanently and allows her to the bull. So I think it's a very interesting new version where we don't get any really confirmed romance that works in this fairy tale. And I find that to be really interesting. I love that.
That's a good point.
Think that's really cool.
That's a good point. I will give it credit there as well. We are approaching our time, and I would say, even all of my little nitpicks here and there, given its overall messaging and it seems success in messaging and a lot of beautiful artwork despite some animation quality issues, I would still say it hits about C+, which by my definition is a whale.
Okay. I mean, it's a whale for me. I will admit all flaws, but like this is a story that it's kind of foundational for me. Like this is one of the earliest stories I found that didn't just do your basic, it's two people in a fantasy world and they're in love, but there's a problem.
Right. There is more to it than that, for sure.
Yeah. There's more going on here. It's very, the movie itself is not super sophisticated, but I would argue the story is a sophisticated take on the themes of growing up and fairy tales and sort of the purpose of a story, why we as humans tell stories. It's all in this one, and I think that's really cool.
That's fair. Good stuff.
Yeah.
So, what is next week?
Next week, I believe that one is Crystal. I gotta confirm.
The Dark Crystal.
Oh wait, no, it might be the Neverending Story.
All right, cool beans. I've not seen either
one. That one will be a little tough, if I remember correctly. It's a good one, but it's a little long, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
That could be, that could be a little tough. Let me double check. We are at, Dark Crystal and then the Neverending Story. I think I did it timeline-wise, so that would mean Dark Crystal came out.
All right, good stuff to look forward to. All right, bye for now.